Once upon a time, there was a show that was completely genius. And despite the fact that one time it got eventually just went off the air after 7 beautiful seasons, it has stayed with us Americans and many people in the world to this very day. Yes. Hello guys, welcome, or if you've already seen my channel before, welcome back. I'm the Philadelphia Whovian, and for this video, we're going to be talking about that beautifully epic thing, this beautiful 7-season show that only went off the air because one of the characters left, so of course they thought we should not continue it. And that's when you know you've got a good show, when it only ends because one character leaves. And this show is a show called Golden Girls. It's a show from actually my childhood. You see, when I was born, the show was on its 2nd season. And when I was growing up, okay, aside of the, of course, awesome cartoons I had in my time that I was always willing to rush home and watch, this was one of the shows that was on my secret desires to always see. When it comes to the, I admit, again, being a kid, of course I had my traditional shows I loved watching, the Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain. Oh god, yes, I love Pinky and the Brain. And the Batman Superman animated adventures. And the other show that didn't last long, but I loved it, Calamity Jane. Yeah, that was a good one too. Yes, and a couple other ones like Boy Meets World, of course. There was that one that was really cool. But the main shows that I just loved to watch as a kid, yes, as a kid, was Living Single. Also, A Different World. Yeah, there was that one too. Legacy. It's a show that lasted for like 10 episodes, but I loved it so much. Also, Home Improvement. And then another amongst them, Martin as well was one I loved a lot. Hanging with Mr. Cooper, loved as well. But the two main ones also were Designing Women and Golden Girls. With Golden Girls, it was a show about 4 white women in their 60s to 80s. Yes, that's the demographic, in their 60s to 80s, and the shenanigans they get up to as women who live together. Yes, this is it. Here I am, a little girl in West Philadelphia, little black girl in West Philadelphia, and wanted to always see Golden Girls. That's how much this show transcended any sort of demographic and then appealed to all demographics. And that's how incredible of a show this was. So what is the plot line to Golden Girls? Well, again, it's set in Miami, Florida, where we have 4 women who live together. First, there is Blanche, who's played by Rue McClanahan. Gorgeous, amazingly talented Rue McClanahan. And Rue McClanahan plays a character who's named Blanche. She's a woman in like her 50s, and she was born in the South, so she has that beautiful Southern accent, and she rents out her home to other women, these 3 other women. Why? Because she's a widow. So she has this house, but she can't maintain it alone, so she has 3 other women living with her, and they're all roommates together. But this is in all essentials her house. Then we have Dorothy, played by Bea Arthur, who was a legend at the time. Bea Arthur, short for Beatrice Arthur. She is the straight character. When I say straight character, I'm not referring to sexual orientation. I'm talking to her character type. She is the straight character who is very much, you know, the sense and the logic of everybody in the household. She's the logical one. Of course, that leads to her sometimes being the bitchy one. That's a side effect of being the logical one, is sometimes you get sick of your other roommates and you can be a little bitchy. And Rue McClanahan, Blanche, she is the over-sexual, hyper-sexual one. I mean, she even is happy when she's called a slut. Yes, that's Blanche. So Blanche is the sexually driven one who's all about how gorgeous she is. Dorothy is the straight character. Then we have Rose, played by iconic Betty White. Betty White is still iconic to this very day. She is like one of the most beloved actresses in America. And she plays Rose, the nitwit, the Scandinavian nitwit. She's from Minnesota, which, you know, was like a Viking territory. And she comes from a place called St. Olaf, which per capita has more idiots in that town than probably any other town in America. She literally represents the dumb blonde. Or not, she's not even really a blonde, but she represents the idiot or the dummy when it comes to that particular friendship. And then there is Sophia, Dorothy's mother, who, because she had a stroke, she cannot control the things that come out of her mouth, so she says whatever she feels, and as a result, oh guys, she is just savagely mean and evil. Because, like it is with comedy, the only way you could be funny is by being thoroughly cruel. But someone phrased Sophia the best, even though she does love Dorothy, her daughter. She said, this commentator said, if Sophia was her mother, she would have committed suicide. And I second that emotion. Sophia is the worst of the worst because of this stroke. But even before that, we get the sense that Sophia sometimes was not a great mother. Sometimes she was brutal as a mom. But again, this is comedy, and this is why this show is funny, because it is so savage. I mean, these four women just insult each other. They love each other. They are an unconventional family in every sense of the word. But by God, are they savage to each other. And do they sometimes rip each other apart. But again, that's why the show is funny. Because only through cruelty can comedy actually occur. Because a sub-level, okay, for comedy to always work, there has to be a level of tragedy underneath, and that's where the humor and the jokes come through. And that is what Golden Girls does best. So we have these four women, but what's wonderful about these four women is they set the scene, or set the stage, or set the blueprint for how comedies can often work when it comes to a TV sitcom. The four female cast, where you have the attractive, hypersexual one. Then you have the straight character who's kind of bitchy. Then you have the nitwit. And then you have the savage one who is kind of cold-hearted. The four different female dynamics lead to a wonderful, wonderful, well-rounded sitcom. And that's what this show does. But what's also wonderful about this show is that it was progressive even when it didn't need to be. Okay, nothing was forced about the progressiveness of this show. It was progressive because they just felt like saying things. But they got away with it because they did it perfectly. You see, it's not about being progressive. It's also about being entertaining while being progressive. But also, it goes back to what something that Oscar Wilde said. If you're going to tell the truth, tell it and make people laugh, or else they'll want to kill you. And that's what Golden Girls does. It tells the truth, but also makes you laugh so that people don't want to kill you after you tell the truth. It's a tricky thing to do, but it's a very good thing to do. It's hard to achieve that, but Golden Girls achieve that. But also what's great about Golden Girls is that it is timeless and it is universal. To this day, I still see people walking around with t-shirts of the four women of Golden Girls on that t-shirt. And you know when I see that, what I usually see that t-shirt on? Black people. Yes, these four old white females. And black people love walking around with those four women on their shirts. Because these women, nobody looks at you as a black person with those four white women and says, oh my God, why are you wearing a shirt with white people? Why is it not black people? No. First of all, I hate when people say that. Second of all, these women just showed how they transcended, completely transcended any sort of demographic, and they appeal to all demographics. And they were genuinely funny. That's why I call Golden Girls one of America's greatest comedies, because it can appeal to anyone and everyone, and was genuinely funny. But I'm going to end this with a parting thing that my cousin once said. When we got to talking about Golden Girls, she said, nowadays, people are always talking about how progressive women are nowadays, but she says, when I see shows like Golden Girls, and I delve more into the history of women in cinema and television, she said this. She's like, everything we're doing now has already been done. There are tons of times women were being progressive in cinema and TV, and Golden Girls is a prime example of that. This was progressive as hell, but it was done in a way that was really cool. So all this stuff that we were talking about nowadays about, yeah, we women are finally progressive. We're not original. All these things that we're talking about, were progressive, have been done before, and sometimes we're done better. The only way you can say we're being progressive now, and this is revolutionary, is if you don't know the history of women in cinema, film, and in real life in the past. That's the only way you cannot think that women were not progressive or things were not progressive for us back then, is if you don't know the past. But as the more I delve into the history of cinema and TV, it shows like Golden Girls show whatever we talk about now, women have like blaze the trail for us women nowadays. There were women back then who blazed the trail for us, and the reason why we are able to do what we do now is because of those women in the past who already did it, and they did it probably against more opposition. But also, they did it in a way where it honestly felt better, because it feels like whenever females were awesome back then, it's because they were awesome. Not because we're women and you have to respect us, you have to respect us on principle. No. These women back then gained respect through their performances alone, and they let their performances speak for them. And also the writing was really good for this show. The writing overall for Golden Girls is amazing. It really is. What I like about it is these actresses and the writers, like Gail Parent, who's one of the principal writers for this, these women were absolutely awesome because they let their awesomeness speak for itself. Not, here I am, recognize me, adore me, and worship me. No, you're going to love me because of the product that I present. And that's what it is. It's about earning your awesomeness. And these women earned it, and they owned it. And that's why I absolutely love Golden Girls. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again very soon. Have you guys watched Golden Girls? Have you not? If you have watched Golden Girls a bit, but you couldn't get into it, I would love to recommend some episodes that I think will get you into it. Or if you've not gotten into Golden Girls, again, I would love to recommend some episodes that will get you into it. But I honestly would like to do a video on each of the 7 seasons where I give the top 10 episodes per season. But I gotta see how this video does first. If it gets at least a few views, I will definitely do those top 10 videos per season, because I really want to. I want to so bad. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, have you seen Golden Girls? Have you not? Either way, comment below and let me know. And guys, thank you so much for watching. See you later, guys.